But first tonight, the United States president has accused the ABC of damaging diplomatic relations after its reporter in the US hit him with a barrage of questions about his wealth. The ABC's Washington correspondent, John Lyons, is an anti-Israel Trump critic. Trump was about to board a flight when Lyons hit him with a series of questions about his business dealings. Trump asked where he was from and then accused him of damaging relations between the United States and Australia.
Generally regarded as the wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House.
I hope so.
How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I built buildings. Like I'm building a building here. You know where I'm building? You know what? You see that area?
Yeah.
That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom.
But is it appropriate?
I think it'll cost $250 million, and it will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, you know this? They've wanted a ballroom. Yeah. And now they're going to finally have it. It's going to knock your socks off.
But is it appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity?
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business.
But
I'm here.
You are also,
you know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
It ended with Trump ordering Lyons to be quiet as he took a question from another journalist.
Well,
go ahead, John.
Trump, when the UAE does a deal like that,
you can set a nicer
when the UAE does a deal, what does it want in return?
Quiet.
So Trump said there that he's planning to raise the exchange with the Australian Prime Minister when they meet. Well, that's confirmation from Trump himself that he is planning to meet with Albanese. This will be their first face-to-face meeting since Trump won the election in November last year. 10 months without a face-to-face between the leaders of Australia and the United States is extraordinary. And the pair have no personal relationship at all. Trump repeatedly rebuffed Albanese's phone calls earlier this year, a story I broke at the time. I can exclusively reveal that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has not managed to schedule another call with President Donald Trump. 3 sources tell me that Albanese and his representatives have been desperately contacting Republican networks in the US, approaching senior figures to try and appeal to President Trump. Well, Albanese denied my report, but just a week later, he was forced to admit that he had been trying and failing to get a call with Trump. At the time, the president was giving Albanese the cold shoulder. And in their first sit-down, it will be Trump who sets the tone. And the president knows full well who he's dealing with. Albanese is travelling to the United Nations General Assembly to express his support for a Palestinian state, whereas Trump has said that recognize a Palestinian state rewards Hamas. And he said this when Canada indicated it would be voting for recognition. He said, Canada has just announced that it is backing statehood for Palestine. That will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal with them. And Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, just visited Israel, where he said the immediate priority was not recognition, but a military effort to eliminate the Hamas terrorists.
Hamas needs to cease to exist as an armed element that can threaten the peace and security of the region, and the people of Gaza deserve a better future, but that better future cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated.
Trump's priority is defense and national security, strong borders, a strong military, and he's banned migrants from Gaza. But Albanese refuses to meaningfully increase our defence spending. Our military is just, the investment hasn't been there. And he's got a near world record of immigrants from Gaza, issuing nearly 3,000 visas. Albanese planned to meet with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in America. Trump banned him from coming to the States. Apart from the tariffs, Trump is positioned as a conservative in terms of his values and his policies. Whereas Albanese is from the left faction of the Labor Party and has expressed radical views throughout his career on borders, immigration and economics. There's also the issue of China. The United States, and this was even the case under the Biden administration, it's been alarmed by Albanese's embrace and lack of criticism of the Communist Party. Albanese has met with Chinese President Xi Jinping 4 times before he's even had a single meeting with the president of our closest ally, America. And now Trump has had this hostile interaction with the ABC. And as for John Lyons, by the way, he is strongly anti-Israel and he's a critic of Trump's. Just a few days ago, he wrote an article blaming Trump for a lack of leadership following Charlie Kirk's assassination. Lyons wrote, "The US desperately needs a leader who will try to unite the country at this time. But if anything, Trump, who was close to Kirk, has only added to the sense of anger rather than tried to de-escalate it." And he wrote, "If the president himself adds fuel, then the danger will grow." Lyons also criticised Trump for automatically assuming that the shooter was from the radical left. He wrote that Trump doubled down on the assumption that the assassin was someone from the radical left. John Lyons is far from impartial. He's been a prolific Israel critic. Remember when Israel was wrongly blamed for a misfired rocket on a hospital in Gaza? Within minutes of the explosion, Hamas claimed Israel was responsible and that 500 were dead. The lie spread around the world. But it was corrected by media outlets internationally when evidence showed that it was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket, not Israel. And the Palestinian Islamic Jihad had misfired the rocket. It had then hit the car park of the Al Ali hospital. Yet John Lyons did not admit unequivocally that the earlier reports blaming Israel were wrong. Instead, he said it was in dispute.
This week, the blast at the Al Ali hospital could prove to be a pivotal moment in the early stages of this war. Israel was blamed initially, but it has presented evidence suggesting it was in fact a misfired rocket shot by Palestinian militants, and the US has backed that version, as have a number of independent experts. But what do you make of this tragedy this week and the impact it's having on the broader conflict?
I think there is serious doubt. I mean, both sides are claiming the others did it. The Israelis have presented what looks on the face of it compelling evidence that it wasn't one of its rockets. I think in a way, until there's an examination, we'll never know.
And in July last year, Hezbollah fired a rocket that slaughtered 12 Israeli Druze children on a soccer field in Majdal Shams. It was one of the worst tragedies of this war, and we had one of the distraught mothers who lost her child on the show at the time. But John Lyons was sceptical, and he said it might have even been Israel. He said he'd like to actually see the rocket that was fired and see the evidence, even though Israel had released that evidence. Have a look.
Hezbollah is denying it's them. Usually they claim rocket attacks into Israel or into this occupied part of the Golan Heights. They're insisting it's not them. It may be them, but it's still not confirmed. Some people on the ground are suggesting that it could have been an interceptor, an Israeli interceptor rocket that was trying to hit an incoming Hezbollah rocket. On that particular day, Hezbollah did claim responsibility for about 12 strikes into Israel. It's very unusual, though, for Hezbollah to target this area which is in the Golan Heights. It's mainly members of the Druze population, Arabic speakers, and it has not been a heavy target for Hezbollah. But Israel is assuming it is. The United States and Israel are insisting it is. But there is some element of doubt over that at the moment. I'd like to actually see the rocket that was fired. The Israelis are saying it's an Iranian-made Falak No. 1 rocket. I'd like to actually see the evidence.
Yeah, he'd like to see the rocket that was fired. This is John Lyons, whose reporting has been far from impartial, as the ABC's charter requires. Perhaps if you've had the misfortune of watching Lyons on the ABC, you may have at times felt like telling him to be quiet. Well, the President of the United States has done that for you.
Quiet.